Hey intro, I'm sorry not to be able to be with you in person this week. I am at home and quarantined. I will be back after Labor Day weekend. So Tuesday through Friday, you're going to be responsible for finishing your pastel project and turning that in. If you don't get it finished by Friday, it's not the end of the world. Just be patient, get as far as you can on it, and I can help you when I return. If you finish before Friday, please bring something to keep yourself busy so that you're not distracting from someone else. You guys should be at the point where you have your piece all laid out with these white lines that you transferred with China marker. If you still are unsure how to do that, ask somebody at your table. You guys are pretty far into the project now. You should have had your one object drawn in 5 sizes and had it transferred. When you're finished with that, you can actually go up to the front of the room and everyone can open up a brand new box of pastels. You are going to have to share these with all 3 intro classes. So, be careful with these and put your pastels back in these each day. Don't let them roll off onto the floor and grind them into the ground and all of those things. So just take care of the pastels. You may have to wash or spray off your desk with the spray. The sub may help people to spray off their desk. It's a good idea this week to spray it off anyway, just to keep things disinfected. So inside your pastel box, you are going to see these oil pastels. They are a mixture between kind of chalky pastels and crayons, and they're very waxy and they're very heavy and they're very bold. This is actually a pretty decent set. Nicer pastels are cheaper than like a set of colored pencils or something. You have some cool colors, your blues and your purples and greens. You have some warm colors over here, your red, orange, and yellow. And of course you have some neutral colors down here. The white gets used up really quickly because it's a really good color to mix in, especially if you're using yellow on the black paper. It'll kind of show up green, but if you put some white in with it, it looks really nice. These colors look really nice and bold on the black, okay? I'm going to go ahead and show you how to use these now. On this, I'm going to pull out blue and I'm going to pull out white and I'm going to pull out purple, and I am going to begin using these. Now the direction that you go and the bold mark making that you do with these, they go pretty quickly, and being bold with oil pastels is really important, okay? And it is everything really, your mark making. So I'm starting to lay down some white, and then I'm putting some blue in there with it. And I actually think this might be a slightly different blue than when I started this example last year, but it doesn't matter. And then I'm using this white to blend that blue back in. So you can always use the white as an ombre. Now, if a color is close to a color on a color wheel, you can also blend that in for some extra effect. You don't just ever want to use one color of pastel by itself. So I'm going to blend purple on top of this blue in that same direction to really make these marks count. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing down here. Repeating colors, repeating directional lines is really important. You want to do the same thing on each one of these shapes so that they kind of have that unified look. Okay. In the background, I have some warm colors here, some pinks, some oranges, some peaches, this kind of color combination. Again, those are close to each other on the color wheel, so they're going to blend really well. If I were to put blue in with these, which is across the color wheel, I'm going to start getting like a poopy brown color. So mix colors that are close to each other on the color wheel. I'm going to hang a color wheel up on the board, and colors that are close by mix well, and colors that are on the opposite side of the color wheel eventually will make brown. And that's just a basic color info right now for you. I will definitely do more color theory with you as we move along through the projects. So I'm being very bold in my mark making. I'm thinking about the direction I'm going. I want to mix some orange in with that because I never just want to do one plain color everywhere. One plain color is what gets things looking pretty elementary schoolish, okay? And if you can blend, also peach is a good blending tool too because it's very much like white. There's a lot of light value in there that you can blend with. When you get to the tiny, tiny ones, it's hard because you have to kind of be a little more detailed, but you're never super detailed with oil pastel. Never go super, super detailed with oil pastel. Stay free. That's why I said your object should be simple. You just kind of want to stay free and open, and all of a sudden this will start coming together. Now the great thing about oil pastel is you can really layer on top of it for a while. Like if you feel like, oh, now I want to put some red in with these oranges, you can keep adding quite a bit on top of the oil pastel. It really has to get a lot of material on there before it stops taking material. But once you've gotten too much material on there, then it will start scraping back off, okay? So you guys watch some tutorials, hopefully for your e-learning over the weekend. You can also kind of take what you learned from those. There were some techniques on those that I'm kind of talking about here. So you guys can do that, okay? But I am not just saying, oh, my background's plain pink. That is what you want to avoid. You want to avoid one solid color everywhere, and you want to use the blending properties of this to blend things together. Now, it's not really going to work for you to blend with your finger like it would with chalk pastel. With chalk pastel, blending with your finger or blending with a blending stump works, but with this kind of pastel, it's really not going to help much. You just want to kind of mush things together. You can try with your finger a bit, but you really just want to mush things together in the background. Okay, so I'm going to have this nice warm background with these cool shapes floating through here. If you have like a sphere or something, you know, don't forget what we just learned. When you blend one color into the next, it is going to do the same thing essentially as we just did for our last project. So if you have spheres or bubbles or something on there, or balloons on there, or whatever, you want to kind of pop them out by shading from light to dark. Okay? And the more perfectionistic you get with pastel, actually the worse it looks, which is kind of weird with this material. You want some marks in there. You want to embrace the mark making on this. Where did my orange go? Oh well, I'll go back to red. All right, so you're just slowly going to work through your page. Think about the direction that your mark goes. Think about what colors you're using. Think about mixing colors that are close to each other on the color wheel. Slowly work through it. Ask your table how they feel about it. There's no wrong way to do this. This is very bold and experimental and very different than the small circular motions of the graphite. But there's still things that apply as you fade in and out of the colors and try to make form a little bit by fading from light to dark, okay? So I'm going to hang this back on the board, and there are other examples up on the board that are really nice, and look at those carefully and just keep working through this. If you need to send me an email at any point this week asking me a question about this pastel process, just ask me. I will do the best I can to answer it. If you need to Zoom with me or email and say, hey, can we Zoom or can we FaceTime or whatever, I am available, okay? So that's it. When you finish, please take the time to put all these little babies back in their spots. They don't have to be in the same order by any means, but you do want to get them all in there so that we have... Oh, I dropped my orange on the floor. I did what I said to not do, but luckily I did not step on it, so it's all good. Okay, I've put these back in their box, and I've put this back on, and I'm going to return them to the front each day and spray off my desk if needed. You also need to cover this up. It won't cover it completely, but it will help your folder to not be a mess if you just put one of the construction paper pieces that are back on the back of my room, any color, if you just lay that on top, or if you want to tape two together like this, you can tape two together and fold it over the edge so the whole thing is covered. It's up to you, but just keep the other artwork in your folder and all your stuff cleaned up. If you need anything, ask me. Love you guys, miss you guys. Have a great week.